Hi, good morning. This is Michelle Fry. Thanks everyone for joining our October provider meeting. We apologize for the lack of video. We are once again having technology issues. So we apologize, but we will proceed this way so that we don't delay the meeting. We have,
Just make sure everybody can hear. Can everybody hear her? Just need somebody to let me know.
This is Margaret. I can hear.
Wonderful. Thank you, Margaret.
thank you. So we have a relatively short agenda today, and I just wanted to flag that we do still have the forum agenda and FAQ email address that we encourage providers to use to help us populate the agenda and make sure that this is a good use of everyone's time. As we proceed, I'd like for folks to think about if monthly is the right time frame for having these, or if we should change the cadence to quarterly. We will look for input from providers to let us know if you want to continue with the monthly cadence or switch to quarterly. I don't think we have received anything, any suggested topics to the forum email address since July. So just want to make sure that this is a good mechanism for positive and consistent communications. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Margaret, who is the first person on our agenda today.
Thank you, Director Fry, and good to be with everyone. Let me, I believe you all can hear me, but someone raise a hand if that's not the case. Have just a couple of updates, and then Mr. Saxon is also on the line to answer a couple of questions. If he has audio difficulty, we're going to send some smoke signals through the chat, and we'll be able to relate that information. So again, a couple of updates on my end. I do want to give an update on the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, HCBS spending plan. We recently submitted our quarterly update to CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which included updated expenditure information through the end of September of 2022. Out of our estimated total of funds available for reinvestment through this time-limited funding, we have expended or reinvested approximately $13 million of funds. The bulk of that is in the areas of either rate increases that have been put into place or enhancements to improve access to waiver services. So we have certain waiver programs that we do account for expenditures by way of census growth within the waivers to address and mitigate waiting list for certain of our CLTC waivers. So again, approximately $4.6 million has been expended in the form of rate increases for HCBS. And we just issued that updated report to CMS. And if it is not posted on the website, it should be shortly. So an update on that one time, the limited funding. I also want to provide an update on the timeline for the one-time payments. These will be one-time payments issued for the purpose of staff retention. HHS is finalizing a provider application to apply for those funds. We expect to release that early November for providers to be able to apply for the one-time funding. We will process those applications and identify the amount of funding. We expect to issue those one-time payments no later than January 1st. So that is our timeline for the ARPA staff retention one-time payments. We are awaiting one final clarification from CMS regarding the matching funds, which tremendously impacts the total amount available for this category of spending. So we are awaiting that final clarification so that we can finalize our totals, our methodology, but we are going to go ahead and get the provider applications out so that we can get them in, processed, and issue those payments by the beginning of January. Also, we will be issuing a bulletin to announce and document the retroactive rate increases. This is the retro rates back to July 1 related to the 3% increase. This is currently in routing and should be issued shortly. Not to steal Jeff's thunder, but the retroactive period will be paid by adjustment. So look for a bulletin to be coming out in short order related to those retroactive rate increases. We are also outlining a project plan and timeline. One of the questions that we continue to get is when we would be able to transition to direct billing for ICFs. So we're in the planning stages of outlining the tasks and a reasonable timeline for that. So we anticipate having an updated timeline by the time this meeting rolls around next month to give more definitive information in terms of transitioning ICF billing to direct billing. In other items related to communications, we recently issued a bulletin outlining the changes that had been approved with the medically complex children waiver and the updates there. Through that waiver renewal, we did increase the maximum age to stay in that waiver to age 21. And we also added environmental modifications as a service that has the same lifetime limit as the CLTC waivers. So those are documented in the bulletin that came out, I believe, last week. We also have a bulletin that is routing for the DDSN waivers. Again, we have so many changes and so many items that have either been attached to the waiver renewals or amendments. So we wanted to give an update. Again, none of this is very recent, but we want to make sure we're doing all that we can to communicate those changes in many different avenues and mechanisms. So look for a bulletin that outlines what was updated in the most recent renewals and amendments for the DDSN operated waivers that will be coming. Finally, we are in the process of planning for the head and spinal cord injury waiver renewal. That will be due to CMS no later than the end of March. So between now and March, we are engaged in enlisting stakeholder input, identifying what changes, if any, are needed to that waiver to recommend for the renewal. We will be hosting, as we usually do, a public webinars, updates through the Medical Care Advisory Council or MCAC through DHHS, but we'll also be reaching out to engage stakeholders for input on that waiver renewal. Again, between now and the end of March is our period to identify changes, to put them out for comment, and submit to CMS by the end of March. So let me stop there and see if Jeff is able to get his audio working and anything that he would like to add or questions that he can answer. Looks like he's still having difficulty with his audio. So I'll check for any open questions and happy to relate any information by chat. We did have a question about direct billing of ICFs and how that relates to DDSN administrative fees. Of course, we would make consideration of all aspects of billing as we plan out. So I do not have an answer for that today, but we certainly will include it in the project plan as an item that we do need to clarify. All right, we have a question, and Jeff, I'm in the Q&A section of the session. So there's the chat field, but there's also a Q&A session. So you'll see answers and can type answers there. So the two questions were, what is the status of funding for the bonus, for the $1,500 bonus? And then will there be a reconciliation process for the one-time bonuses? I'll give Jeff a moment.
Margaret, do I need to type the questions to him, or do you know if he's able to hear?
I believe he's able to hear.
Okay, perfect. I just didn't want to overwhelm him if he had the questions, but I was going to type them in if he needed them.
Yeah, I will put him in the chat as well. I believe that the bonuses are scheduled to go out by the end of this week, but let Jeff confirm that. Okay, in regard to the $1,500 bonus payments, all of the DSN boards will receive payments this Friday. The total spend on that is just over $7 million. And Jeff says he's still waiting on information from Florence and Georgetown. So I do see also a message from Georgetown. So Elizabeth will reach out to you individually to assist with making sure we get your information in. Okay, so we answered the question on the boards, and then DDSN will receive payments also on October 28th, totaling $2.8 million. Okay, we got an additional question. Jeff, any requirements as to the timeline for when we have to pay the bonuses? And also a question on whether QPL's qualified providers are getting the bonuses and if those have been paid for private providers. There was, while Jeff is working on those questions, there's an additional question on the recruitment and retention payments. Those one-time payments, the applications, we're expecting to get those out the first week of November. We are designing it to be a streamlined, simple process that providers will essentially say, yes, I do want to receive this one-time payment, and that you attest that it is to be used for the purpose of staff retention. We are in the process of doing final edits to that. So again, expect the requirements for that application process to be streamlined, very simple, that yes, you do want to receive the one-time payment and that you agree to utilize the funding for the purposes of staff retention. In terms of all of the providers, Jeff indicates he does not have all of the information on the early intervention FTEs for those that submitted FTE information and that we have the provider numbers on. Those entities will receive, but will be additional as FTE information is received. So I believe that is addressing the early intervention providers. We also had a question in terms of whether there will be a reconciliation process for the bonuses and whether in developing cost reports for the current year, would providers need to isolate the bonus payments? While Jeff is working on that additional question, in terms of the one-time payment for staff retention, the question is whether this can be used to target certain positions for additional bonus payments, such as direct service professionals. We are not going to issue a lot of detailed guidance for providers above and beyond utilizing the funds for staff retention efforts. The intent of this entire category of spending and the way that we have explained to CMS how we intend to fund this is for direct care providers or direct service providers. So it would need to be focused on staff retention for those direct service providers. But we're not going to be very specific with providers, knowing that each provider is unique, but as long as it is an HCBS waiver service focused on staff retention for direct care workers, we're leaving a lot of latitude up to the providers. And yes, for the one-time payments, those are for HCBS services only. And given that we've got some technological challenges, we'll take down the rest of the questions in terms of the bonus payments, and we will get the responses back to you in written format. That way everyone will have that. So thank you for your patience. Please list your questions, and we will answer those and post the responses back to your additional questions. That's what I have, Lori. Again, we'll take all of these questions down. Again, there would be no change from what we already communicated when we did meet with the provider association, but we will get specific answers outlined for your questions and get those out to you in short order.
All right, thanks, Margaret.
Thank you.
So again, we're having some technology problems here too. So we're going to kind of pass my laptop around as each one of us gives you some updates. The first thing that I wanted to go over was the residential leave report. That should be done by out by the end of the week. I want to remind providers that if you're not billing through TheraP, it's not calculating the leave that you have billed, like if you're utilizing the web tool or something like that. So the report is really just going to give you the total number for the plan year. We want to make sure that you guys are keeping up with the leave that you're billing if you're not billing through that system. So again, look for it by the end of the week so that you can get your updated report. Next, I think Quincy has a couple of items.
Hey, y'all, kind of piggyback off what Margaret said, effective 7/1, the rate paid for ICFs was increased by DHHS. So therefore we are issuing a new per diem for those services. That per diem is based on fiscal year 21 cost reports. The last per diem was based on fiscal year 19 cost report. So there is a little bit of a change in the admin rate. So that being said, we're going to work towards amending the current agency contracts to reflect that new rate in the coming weeks. And also for services rendered July 1 to September 30th, we're going to complete a reconciliation of each of the providers' reimbursements. And hopefully by November 15th, any monies owed will be issued to the provider. And that new updated rate or per diem will be applied to all the future payments. Any questions about that? If not, I will move on to the next item, which is the Executive Budget Office hearing. Just wanted to give everyone an update. We have our hearing with the Executive Budget Office on our fiscal year 24 budget requests. It is tomorrow at 2 p.m. We have about 15 minutes to present our $32 million total fund request to Governor's Office staff and also Executive Budget Office staff. So I'll keep you guys in the loop on how that budget request is making its way through the legislative process in these meetings. And with that, I am done unless there are questions.
All right, back to me. I just wanted to talk about a couple of policy updates that are upcoming and some training events that are being held to kind of provide some information and instruction on the implementation of those policies. First of all, revised directive 50502 DD, which is the death reporting directive, will be effective on November 1st. There will be a training held, brief training really, because I think the directive kind of speaks for itself. On October 26th at 10 a.m. It's during the regular case management work group meeting. We also sent out a memo on October 13th to kind of clarify the requirements around reporting of death for waiver participants who live at home with their families that are not served residentially, and kind of what we're looking for in the initial and final report. Because I think initially providers had some concerns around whether or not DDSN would be looking for the same information that we collect for people who live in the system residentially. So I think between that clarification and your opportunity on the 26th to attend and ask any questions, hopefully we will be ready to go with implementation of that policy on November 1st. Our IT department is currently working to remove some of the required fields for people who live at home with family. So that should be live and ready to go on November 1st. The second thing, the second new policy that is being implemented is 709 DD, which is determining need for residential services. We have an effective date for that policy directive of December 1st. This is a pretty major shift in the process for determining need and requesting tier changes and that kind of thing for folks that receive services through DDSN. We have scheduled 2 trainings. One's on Thursday, November 10th. The other one is Tuesday, November 15th. A memo went out Friday announcing those trainings in a response to providers who want to do some on-site training. We are going to open up on-site for both days, but we are very limited in seating. So we're requesting that providers send 1 person on site. The remainder of your staff can, any number of them can attend virtually. So it's 1 person per agency unless your agency provides residential and case management, in which case you can send 2, but we would request that one of them be a residential staff and the other be a case management staff. There's a link in the memo to sign up for in-person training. Just so you guys understand, you do not have to send anybody in person, right? So we put that option available for people who want to participate in person, but if you are fine participating virtually, please don't feel like you need to drive to Columbia to go to that training. We will also record the training, and the training will be available on Business Tools as quickly as we can stand it up after the training. I got a couple of questions. There's a question about our new requirements for reporting by case managers billable activities. So once a person has passed away, there's no billing that occurs on their record for any service, including case management. With the new requirements, we aren't thinking that is going to be an enormous amount of time. We will monitor the number of death reports that need to be made by case managers and the time that it takes to do them. And, you know, if we see that it's causing an enormous financial issue, then, you know, we can reevaluate it at that time. So somebody didn't get the memo on the residential needs training. It went out on Friday from Colleen. I will ask her to resend it because, like I said, that's super important, that we need to make sure that everybody has, you know, presence at that training. On the residential leave report, what process there? It must be completed for the leave units to populate. Does it just be keyed or approved, or does it have to be generated? So for the leave report, that report runs on billed leave units, right? So if you have it in attendance as L, but it hasn't gone through the process to be billed, it's not showing up on that report. It is looking at fully billed units using kind of that L criteria in the TheraP system. Great, I'm gonna pass this over to Janet and then we'll continue to monitor questions.
So good afternoon. I just wanted to kind of bring to your attention a couple of other training opportunities. The first one is person-centered thinking training. This is the training that's done by Intellectability as a contractor of DDSN. We've had this training for several years. It is required for case managers and recommended for other day or residential staff or ICF staff also. The training, you have to request the training, and the request for training is on business tools. If you go into the DDSN application portal, select business tools, on that first page, it says request the training. That just lets us know that you're interested in it. And then each class has about 20 people. So there are 20 seats in each class. It's a 3-day class and the seats are virtual. So all of this training will be conducted virtually. We have scheduled to have the first of this year. The first one this year will be in November. And so Yolanda Goodwin will be reaching out to people who may have indicated a desire to participate in the class and offering those people seats in the class. We will also offer person-centered thinking training in January, March, April, May, and June. So those are the months of the subsequent training for that. Again, it's all, it's 3 days, it's a virtual training. There's prep work that has to be done in advance of the training. And you have to be present to get credit for it. So that's that one. The second one is positive behavior support training. DDSN used to offer this training class regularly. This positive behavior support is part of a requirement for high management residential services. So if you're in that high management tier, or for those who are residential tier 4, positive behavior supports is a requirement for staff. Our first positive behavior support training class will be this month. The seats in this class are limited as well. The training itself is divided into first a supervisor's course, which is really a course for anyone who has influence over direct support staff. That is a 4-day in-person class. The classes are held 1 day per week for 4 consecutive weeks. Following the training, there is a skills check so that trainers from the course go and watch the attendees perform the skills they learn in the training. Following the supervisor's course, following the successful completion of a supervisor's course, a 2-day trainer's course is also being offered so that the people who are doing the positive behavior support instruction are teaching staff how to be trainers of positive behavior supports. Again, this is a 2-day course. It's 1 day per week for 2 weeks. It requires an observation of the delivery of training within 90 days of completion of the coursework. And then once the trainer is certified, that trainer can teach other staff of the agency. I think I said the first positive behavior support supervisor's course will be in October. So it's actually at the end of this week and it will go for 4 consecutive weeks. That training is being held in the Midlands area, Columbia area. In December, we will start a supervisor's course in the Witten Center area. It may be actually at Witten Center. If not, it will be close by. In January, we will offer a supervisor's course in the Coastal Center area. And in February, we will be in the Florence area offering the training. The supervisor's courses are limited to 20 seats, and the trainer's courses are limited to 10 seats. So as the ability to register for this class as we have the ability to register for the class, I'll be sending you information about how to register. And I strongly encourage you to be thoughtful about the people that you are sending to the class, especially if you are picking people who you will want to move on to the trainer's course. Make sure that you're thoughtful about that. And again, space is limited. So if you really want to get in on it, you probably need to act quickly once the registration information is provided and registration's open. And that's all I have to say about that. Thanks.
Okay, good afternoon. This is PJ Perea with the upcoming events update. To round out Down Syndrome Awareness Month, there will be a buddy walk on November 6th at 2 p.m. at the Saluda Shoals Park here in Columbia, South Carolina. If you have a day that you want to come out and participate and walk and raise money for a very worthy cause, that would be coming up on November 6th. The South Carolina State Museum will be hosting another accessibility morning on November 12th from 9 to 11 a.m. They basically turn down the lights and the sounds for a lot of the displays and make it quite a sensory friendly day for families that like to come out. It is a free event. If you would go ahead and visit the South Carolina State Museum webpage and pre-register for the event. They prefer that people pre-register. There's been roughly 50 to 100 families showing up for that event the past couple of times that it's been hosted. On December 8th, South Carolina DDSN will be hosting a holiday market here at the central office from 10 to 2 p.m. If you're interested in getting more involved, we'll be releasing a registration packet for vendors probably at the end of this month. So look for that announcement in your email. And if you're interested, go ahead and get the holiday workshop up and running if you're interested in selling or providing services for the holidays. That market will be open here at the office on December 8th. On December 16th, we are now in partnership with South Carolina Adventure Children's Museum. So on December 16th from 5:30 to 7:30, they have a sensory evening at the Adventure Museum. It's free and open to families who are interested in having a quieter and time that's closed off to the public. If you follow them on social media or on their website, you can also register for that event. So that's December 16th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. This will also be happening at this is the Columbia location, but it will also be happening concurrently on December 16th at the Hartsville and Myrtle Beach locations. So if you are close to those locations, you're encouraged to attend. Finally, just a follow-up from the State Fair, we had a great turnout for our sensory friendly morning and our Exceptional Abilities Day. Just for the 2-3 hour sessions that our staff were able to attend and hand out things, we met with probably over 3,000 to 5,000 people for that portion of the day. So we're estimating anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 participants were involved in the sensory morning, and Exceptional Abilities Day. The State Fair is ecstatic by the turnout and is definitely going to host it again next year with us. So look to next year's announcements on Sensory Friendly Morning and Exceptional Abilities Day at the State Fair. They're definitely going to continue the program thanks to the partnership with DDSM. Finally, we are working with SCE TV to do a special event. Basically, it will be a special video release. They'll be available in person and online. The time is yet to be determined, but I will have announcements out to you soon on that partnership. It'll be focusing on head and spinal cord injury awareness, and we'll have basically a showing of a special film, as well as a panel afterwards, a Q&A panel afterwards. But that's in progress at the moment. We'll let you know when that event is happening. And that is all I have for the moment.
Awesome. So the only comment we had was, Janet, for your courses, if you could send out a schedule for those courses, I think they would appreciate having that ahead of time so that they can kind of plan. So we'll try to get something out for that as soon as we can. All right, I think that's everything for the agenda today. I want to thank everyone for participating, and if you have issues you want to discuss, I encourage you again to contact the email address that's on the bottom of your agenda. If we know what we want to look at, what you want us to talk about, what you want to know about, it's just a better way for us to plan for this meeting and be prepared for the things that'll be helpful for you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.